Tyler was the kind of guy everyone loved to be around, charismatic and charming. He lit up any room. At 32, with his tousled hair and those piercing eyes, he definitely turned heads. But behind that laid-back vibe and easy smile was a complicated family history that made him shy away from serious relationships and holiday gatherings. Since he was a kid, Tyler had kept his distance from family celebrations. The chaotic Christmases of his childhood still haunted him. Instead of family time, he preferred to spend the holidays at bars or parties with friends, chasing that superficial fun to fill the emptiness inside. William had been his best buddy and co-worker for ages, and they always hit the town together during the holidays, enjoying their single lives without any strings attached. But things were shifting that week. The office was buzzing with Christmas excitement. People were chatting about trips, dinners, and family get-togethers. Tyler, though, had something else in mind. Just 2 days before Christmas Eve, he approached William with excitement after work. "Hey, Will, you won't believe it. I found this new bar that's going to be the place to be on Christmas night. It's amazing. Live music and tons of beautiful women. We have to go, man." He was practically bouncing with enthusiasm, giving his friend a friendly pat on the shoulder. William smiled, but it wasn't the same as usual. There was a hint of embarrassment in his eyes. "Dude, that sounds awesome. But remember that girl I told you about, Rachel? Things have gotten serious between us. I'm spending Christmas with her family this year. She invited me, and I figured it was about time." Tyler's jaw dropped. His loyal party partner was trading all that for a family Christmas. He tried to mask his disappointment with a nervous laugh. "Oh, I see. So you're getting hitched now, huh?" he joked, half laughing and half annoyed. "It's not like that, man," William chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. "But you know, life changes. Maybe one day you'll get it." Still in disbelief, Tyler shrugged it off and pretended it didn't bother him. After they said their goodbyes, he tried to invite other friends out, shooting off messages and stopping by desks around the office. But the response was always the same. Everyone had plans. Dinners with family, romantic dates, or trips lined up for the holidays. Tyler started to realize that while he was stuck in his old ways, everyone else was moving on. What used to feel like a fun choice was now starting to weigh on him as an inevitable loneliness. On the last workday before Christmas, the office was buzzing with festive cheer. Twinkling lights were strung up, and the smell of gingerbread cookies wafted through the air, mixing with the usual coffee scent. Laughter echoed down the hall, and Christmas tunes played softly in the break room. Colleagues were excitedly exchanging cards and warm hugs as they wrapped up their work and got ready to celebrate. Some were even carrying brightly wrapped gifts for secret friends or family. Meanwhile, Tyler sat at his desk, staring blankly at his computer screen, fiddling with a pen. He pretended to be busy, even though he had no tasks left to tackle. The truth was, he didn't want to leave. He had no parties to go to and no one waiting for him. Then his phone rang, breaking him out of his thoughts. He saw his mom's name pop up and sighed. This wasn't the first time she'd called that week. He knew what was coming. "Hello, Mom," he answered, trying to sound cheerful. "Tyler, honey, I know you're busy, but I hope you're still considering my invitation. The dinner will be lovely, and everyone would love to see you." "It's been so long," she urged, her voice filled with hope. Tyler squeezed his eyes shut, feeling a mix of guilt and discomfort. He didn't want to let her down, but facing painful memories and family drama was tough. "Thanks for the invite, Mom, but I already have plans. It's going to be exciting," he lied, trying to sound convincing. There was a brief silence on the line. "All right, dear. Just know there's always a place for you at the table," she said, her voice so tender it only made the emptiness inside him feel worse. After hanging up, Tyler looked around the office and noticed it was almost empty, except for Alice, who who was still quietly working at her desk in finance. Alice was pretty low-key, almost invisible in the hustle and bustle of the office. Her long brown hair was pulled back in a simple bun, with a few strands escaping to frame her face. She wore thin-framed glasses on her delicate nose, and her neutral-colored, classic outfits made her look practical and reserved. Among her more irreverent colleagues, Alice had picked up the nickname Cat Lady. Sure, it came with some pretty harsh stereotypes, but it really just showed how little they understood her. She was seen as this solitary, quirky woman who probably lived in an apartment packed with cats, books, and silence. Tyler, like most of them, never bothered to see if that was true. Alice always seemed lost in her numbers and reports, totally oblivious to the gossip around her. She rarely got invited to happy hours or group lunches, and she seemed okay with it, never showing any sign of discomfort. People often mistook her introspective vibe for coldness or being antisocial. One day, as Alice walked past Tyler's desk, she paused for a moment, papers in one hand. Her shy but genuine smile cut through the quiet of the empty office. "I didn't even realize anyone was still around. You're really dedicated. Just don't work too hard or you might miss Christmas dinner." Tyler looked up, a bit surprised by her talking to him. He let out an awkward laugh and shook his head. "Well, actually, I don't have any plans for the holiday." Alice's eyebrows shot up in surprise. She hesitated, almost weighing her next words. "Well, I don't have anyone to spend Christmas with either. I'm just going to make dinner at home. It'll be something simple, but you're invited if you want to come over and eat." Tyler was taken aback for a moment. Spending Christmas with the office cat lady wasn't exactly his idea of a fun evening. He opened his mouth to politely decline, but something in Alice's eyes caught him off guard. There was no pity or desperation in her invitation, just a genuine offer of kindness. Well, why not? "It might be nice to eat something other than frozen food," he said with a smile, still a bit unsure. Alice nodded, clearly happy with his response. A few hours later, Tyler showed up at Alice's place. To his surprise, he was welcomed by an excited Labrador instead of a bunch of cats, which was what everyone else had imagined. "This is Max," Alice said, introducing the dog with a smile. "He loves visitors." Tyler couldn't help but chuckle at the irony of her having a dog instead of cats. The apartment was cozy and nicely decorated, with the lovely scent of cinnamon and pine filling the air. He spotted a beautiful painting on the living room wall, a peaceful landscape of mountains and a lake. "I painted it a few years ago," Alice said, noticing him admiring it. "It's really beautiful," Tyler complimented, admiring the details. Alice invited him to help himself to drinks at the small bar while she finished up dinner. He poured himself a glass of red wine and settled onto the comfy sofa, feeling surprisingly relaxed. "I don't know what your family does, but do you wait until midnight to eat?" Alice called from the kitchen. "My family didn't have any specific traditions. We can eat whenever you're ready," Tyler replied. They sat down at the table, which Alice had set up with care. There was roasted turkey, potatoes, veggies, and a pie that smelled amazing. Tyler was impressed by how much effort she put into everything. As the delicious scents filled the air, Alice looked at him with a mix of curiosity and kindness. Her voice was calm as she asked, "Tyler, can I ask you something?" "You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but why are you spending Christmas alone?" He hesitated, staring at his wine glass, swirling it between his fingers. The atmosphere felt cozy, almost magical, and something about Alice's welcoming gaze made it hard for him to keep his usual defenses up. "My family is complicated," he said, his voice low and thoughtful, as if he was digging up old memories he'd rather forget. "When I was a kid, my parents were always fighting and making up. Every holiday, especially Christmas, turned into a battlefield. The smallest things, like the turkey being dry or someone forgetting a gift, could spark a huge argument. Christmas was never that joyful time people like to talk about. He paused, looking distant, and Alice stayed quiet, encouraging him to keep going. But there was one Christmas, he continued, his voice a bit shaky, when everything seemed different. My parents were pretty chill with each other, almost like they were friends, and they were actually nice to one another. I remember my older sister joking that it felt like a Christmas miracle. They laughed and talked without any fights, and for the first time in ages, it felt like we were a normal family. But then, at the end of that night when we were all hanging out in the living room, Tyler looked down, gripping his glass tighter. They called us over for a talk, and I thought they were going to share some exciting news or something that would explain this surprising vibe. But instead, they dropped the bomb that they were separating. Tyler let out a short, bitter laugh, like he was trying to shake off the heaviness of that memory. It hit me hard. I spent the night staring at the twinkling lights on the Christmas tree, trying to wrap my head around how something that felt so peaceful and happy was really just a goodbye in disguise after years of being apart. Eventually, my parents got back together, and it seemed like they found a way to make it work, but the feeling of instability never really left. They always invite me to spend the holidays with them now, but honestly, I think I'm a little scared. What if? What if, during a seemingly calm dinner, they start fighting again? Or worse, what if they announce they're splitting up again at the end of the night? A part of me is always bracing for the worst. That's why I keep my distance, you know? It's just easier to handle the loneliness I already know than to risk opening up to something that might hurt me again. He took a deep breath. Maybe it's a bit cowardly, but that's how I've been coping. I avoid getting too close so I don't have to deal with losing everything again. Alice listened closely, her eyes full of empathy as Tyler opened up. After he finished, there was a brief silence. Tyler felt the weight of his honesty hanging in the air, mixed with curiosity and vulnerability. He asked hesitantly, "So, Alice, why don't you have any plans for Christmas?" Alice gently set her fork down, like it helped her gather her thoughts. Her brown eyes softened, but there was a shadow there, hinting at some deep pain. "Well, my parents have passed away. They were amazing people, but they left way too soon. And honestly, my marriage didn't survive the loss of our 3-year-old son." Her words hit hard. Tyler was totally taken aback and almost choked on his food. He dropped his fork onto his plate, the sound loud in the quiet room. His eyes widened as he looked at Alice, trying to reconcile her calm demeanor with the heavy suffering she carried. "I'm so sorry, Alice. I had no idea." His voice shook a bit, filled with regret and embarrassment for not really noticing her before. But Alice smiled gently, a smile that showed acceptance and strength. "It's okay, Tyler. Thanks. It's been a few years now. I still miss him every day. The longing never really goes away, but the sharpest pain has faded." She took a deep breath, her eyes drifting to a painting on the wall. "Unfortunately, grief was something my ex-husband and I couldn't handle together. We lost our son, and eventually, we lost each other too." Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his chair, feeling like his own worries and fears, which he thought were so huge, suddenly felt small compared to Alice's deep pain. "You're really strong, Alice," he murmured, feeling disarmed by her calmness and honesty. Alice looked up and shrugged a bit, a soft smile on her lips. "Strength isn't always about making a choice. Sometimes it's just what you have to do," she said. "Can I give you a little advice, Tyler?" Alice asked gently. "Don't let the fear of what's coming take away the good times you can have now with your family. Living in the past just steals precious moments." Her words hit Tyler hard. The rest of dinner was light and fun. They found out they had a lot in common, from music to movies. Tyler was surprised at how quickly time flew by with her. Around midnight, he said, "Alice, I had a blast tonight. I never knew you had so many funny stories. Alice laughed. Who would have thought the cat lady was a rock band lead singer back in college, right? Tyler blushed, feeling embarrassed that she knew about the nickname, but Alice just chuckled at the whole thing. Then Tyler had a light bulb moment. Alice, you were right about not wasting time on fears from the past. Want to come with me to my parents' house? They're not too far from here, and maybe we can still grab some dessert. Alice smiled and agreed, happy to help Tyler reconnect with his family. When they arrived at Tyler's parents' place, they were met with surprise and joy. His mom, a sweet, gray-haired lady, couldn't hide her happiness when she saw Tyler. "What a wonderful surprise," she exclaimed, giving him a big hug. His dad, who looked serious but had a kind smile, said, "I'm glad you came, son." Tyler introduced Alice as a friend, and she was welcomed warmly by the family. The room was decked out with Christmas lights, and the smell of cinnamon and hot chocolate filled the air. Tyler's family was clearly thrilled to see him. His siblings, already married with kids, were playing with their little ones around the Christmas tree. As they enjoyed a delicious pecan pie, Tyler felt a pang of regret for missing moments like this in recent years. He watched his mom laughing at a joke from his dad, his nephews and nieces running around happily, and Alice chatting animatedly with his sister-in-law. He realized that the fear that had kept him away was totally unfounded. Here was the family he had avoided for so long, all together and happy. In the months that followed, Tyler and Alice grew closer. He found in her a friend who understood him and a fun companion. Alice, in turn, discovered someone who made her laugh and encouraged her to break out of her shell. Gradually, their feelings shifted. Tyler, who had always steered clear of serious relationships, found himself head over heels for the woman who had once been labeled the weird one at the office. The next Christmas, Tyler and Alice were celebrating together at his family's house. The vibe was festive, filled with laughter and lively chats. Tyler watched Alice interact with his family, feeling a happiness he hadn't felt in ages. In a quiet moment, he asked everyone to pay attention. Heart racing, he knelt down and pulled out a small box. "Alice, you've shown me that the past doesn't have to define our future. With you, I've learned to appreciate every moment and open my heart again. Will you marry me?" With tears in her eyes, Alice said a heartfelt yes. Tyler's family erupted in applause, moved by the moment as he wrapped his arms around her. He whispered, "Christmas isn't just a reminder of the past anymore. It's full of hope for the future." They kissed, sealing their love and the promise of a joyful future together. Tyler finally got that the real Christmas vibe isn't about the decorations or presents, but about being able to forgive. It's about starting fresh and loving each other, especially that night when everyone was celebrating the engagement and the coming together of the family. He looked at Alice and felt so thankful. She wasn't just the woman he loved. She helped him see how important family is and brought back the magic of Christmas for him. What started as a surprise meeting between two lonely souls turned into a sweet story of love, healing, and new beginnings. Tyler and Alice showed that sometimes the best Christmas gifts aren't wrapped up in pretty paper, but come as second chances and fresh starts. If you liked the story, drop a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to let us know what you think. Also, check out the video that's popping up on your screen now. Catch you later.